Hi friends, welcome to another edition of A Single Girl's Gotta Eat, the cooking show. Remember, A Single Girl's Gotta Eat is a single girl's guide to feeding your belly and your soul. Today we are making slow cooker beef stroganoff. This reminds me of my childhood. I don't know the last time I ate beef stroganoff, but the reason we're making it today is because I have a few things, some ingredients in my pantry that I want to use up. So, one way that we can be frugal as well as make really delicious food as single women and not break our budgets is to make sure that we're cooking with what we already have. So I went and found this recipe because I had some beef broth that I wanted to use up, and this is the recipe that I found. I had some meat in the freezer, defrosted that. Most of these other ingredients I already had in my pantry, and then voila, beef stroganoff was what I came up for dinner, which is fun. I haven't had this in forever, so I'm excited to try it. So you guys, there's a few different steps for this. This is a little bit different of a recipe than I usually showcase. It's got a few more ingredients and a couple more steps, but I think it's gonna be delicious and well worth it. So first of all, get out your slow cooker. You know we love our slow cookers here at A Single Girl's Gotta Eat. So you are gonna cook this beef stroganoff for 2 to 3 hours on high or 5 to 7 hours on low. I tend to do the low and slow approach just because I just want to stick it in the crock pot and not think about it. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm shooting for about 6 hours and then finishing out the second 2 steps, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So first thing we're going to do, you can use either a pound of ground beef or you could use sirloin steak. So a pound and a half of sirloin steak. Whatever you choose, use it. If you have it in your fridge or your freezer already, use what you have in your freezer. You could use turkey with this as well. So I had ground beef. So I've taken out the ground beef and I have broken it up a little bit. And what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna add the spices to it, mix in the spices to the meat, and then stick it in the crock pot. Okay, so I have a pound of meat here. I've got my spices already measured out. I've got a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of dill weed, which is an unusual ingredient, and if you don't have it in your pantry, don't worry about it. Just don't use it. Just happen to have it. So, and then a half a teaspoon of black pepper, a half a teaspoon of onion powder, and a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Okay, so that's what I've got on this beautiful little, oh, you can't even see it. There you go. So I'm gonna put that in my meat mixture. Put it all in there. And then just try to mix it in the meat. That way, this is also, if you're doing that, you could also do this in the crock pot. I just had put this in the bowl, so I thought that would be an easy way to do it. Doesn't have to be thoroughly coated, but just get that mixed in there. And, you know, one thing you could do is with this, you could cook the meat beforehand and stick it in. In my mind, I'm kind of like, listen, if I'm gonna do the slow cooker, I'm gonna do as few steps as possible. So I'm just gonna throw this all in together. And if it's in the crock pot for 5, 6, 7 hours, it's gonna cook the meat. So I think you can just throw it in. So we're gonna throw it in the bottom of the crock pot. Get your fork in there again and just break up the meat a little bit so you don't have globs. Of course, you can always break up the meat later. So no worries if it does turn. There are some globs as you're cooking it and then stirring it occasionally. So that is what we're gonna do for that. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add in 1 cup of beef broth, okay? So I'm gonna do that right now. You will use another half a cup of the beef broth later in the recipe, so just keep that in mind. You're gonna put in 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Actually, I think I kind of said it right. I don't know if I did or not. Put in 3 of these bad boys. And then you are also gonna put in 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, okay? I can get this open here. All right, You guys, and for now, that is it. The only other ingredient that you could add right now, and this is an optional ingredient if you like mushrooms. I like mushrooms. So you are going to use some mushrooms in this. The recipe that I'm using is from wellplated.com, and it calls for 16 ounces. I have just one package here. So I wanted a little bit firmer, the mushrooms. I don't want them to be as soft in my stroganoff. So I'm actually gonna wait a couple hours to put these in, but you can certainly put them in now if you prefer a softer mushroom. How many times have you ever talked about how soft your mushrooms are? For me, not often. This might be my first time. Anyways, you guys, so that is it right now, okay? That is all we're doing at the moment. 30 minutes before you're ready to serve your meal, you're gonna do a couple more steps, okay? And I'm gonna tell you about them right now, and then just set a timer so it'll go off so you don't have to think about it, okay? So 30 minutes before you're gonna serve the meal, you are gonna make a slurry, okay? So you're gonna get some cornstarch out, do a quarter of a cup of cornstarch and a half a cup of beef broth, okay? So mix those two things together, pour them into your beef stroganoff mixture. At this point, it's just a beef mixture, okay? So you're gonna do that, kick it up to high, cook it for 20 minutes, okay? The next thing you're gonna do with about 10 minutes left, so really this takes 5.5 to 7.5 hours. So I'm gonna go for like 6 hours of cooking, and then I'm gonna start this like 2 and 3 step process, okay? So after the slurry has been added and cooked for 20 minutes, you're going to add in a cup of Greek yogurt, okay? Use a full fat Greek yogurt. I've got a 2% here. I think that's gonna work. The non-fat in the recipe, it says will curdle. You don't want that to happen, obviously. So what I'm gonna do, well, you have two options. Let me talk about this first. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of the mixture out, mix it with some of my Greek yogurt just to make sure it's cool, and then put in the Greek yogurt, right? Okay, so just to make sure that it's fine. But here's the other thing. If you don't have Greek yogurt in your fridge, don't go out and buy it, especially if you're not going to use it. However, if you have sour cream, you could substitute sour cream for the Greek yogurt. Also, if you have some sour cream and some Greek yogurt, you could do a combo, okay? So just throwing that out there. So 1 cup of sour cream, Greek yogurt, or combo mixed in with the beef mixture. Cook that on high still for another 10 minutes. Then voila, we are done. However, we also need some pasta to go with this, right? Typically there's egg noodles in a beef stroganoff. I don't have egg noodles. Again, we use what's in our pantry. That's just smart shopping and smart using. So I have these elbow macaroni from when I made another recipe. And so I am gonna use elbow macaroni instead of the egg noodles, because we don't need to go out and buy 9,700 different ingredients when this is the same thing as the egg noodles, right? Well, they may not be the same thing as the egg noodles, but you know what I'm talking about. So you guys, that is it. That is slow cooker beef stroganoff. The recipe again is from wellplated.com. I will link it in the comments. Once again, cook it on high 2 to 3 hours, low 5 to 7 hours, 30 minutes before you're gonna serve it. Do the 1/4 cup of cornstarch with the 1/2 cup of beef broth, mix it up, put it in, kick it up to high, 20 minutes in there. Then the last 10 minutes of the cook, you're gonna add in 1 cup of sour cream, Greek yogurt, or a combo of the both, a combo of the two. Okay, and then make your pasta, put it all together, serve. It's gonna be delicious. All right, you guys, that is it. Thanks for joining me on another episode of A Single Girl's Gotta Eat, the cooking show. Single Girl's Guide to Feeding Your Belly and Your Soul. Much love, friends.